Hey there, Colette here. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about how to promote your book. One of the big questions people have is, once I've written my book, how do I let people know that it's available for sale? How do I get the traction and the influence, the credibility boost that I'm looking for? So I'm going to share with you how you do that now really simply. The first thing that you need to do is create a press pack. And your press pack has a series of documents in it. The one I use with the authors has got, I think, 14 different documents at the moment. It's always growing. But there's 3 core things that you need to include. The first thing is your author bio. And your author bio explains who you are and why you've written the book. What is it about your background, your personal experience, your professional qualifications that make you a good person to write this book? And I recommend you have bios of different lengths in there. We don't want people rewriting who you are. We want to have a very tight control of your personal brand or how you want to be seen as an author. So you want something like something that can be tweeted, like 140 characters, something that can fit in a magazine in a tiny, those tiny little sidebars. You need like 10 words to say who you are, that sort of thing. And then you'll want some longer ones, and the longer bios will have a couple of slants. One of the slants will be on you and your professional career, and the other slant will be a bit more about you and your personality, where you live, what makes you tick, and then people can choose which one's appropriate for what they want to share about you. And you could also include one that is for coming on stage. So if you're going to be speaking based around your book, which I recommend that you do, you're going to be introduced. And again, you want to micromanage how you are presented to make sure people understand clearly who you are. You don't want any paraphrasing. Again, if you're going to appear on a podcast or a radio show or something like that, you can be introduced properly because you've got this author bio. The next thing you want is some snippets of the book. And you can have, if it's a factual book, then you can choose tips from the book. Just lift and shift small 150 word, 200 word sections that give people pointers on how they can have some quick wins with your subject, because those are brilliant to go in magazines. 10 ways to get more leads from your website, for example, would be a really good thing to include as a book synopsis thing, so people can just put it straight in. If you want to know more about making your website better, go and buy the book. Very simple. And people can just pick that up and put it straight in their publications. If you think about as being a blogger, something like that, you've always got to keep creating this new content, and it's like, I'm stuck this week, I don't know. If somebody comes to you with a fantastic piece of information, they can just share it. So they're going to go, yes, I've got a load of deadlines, you give me some good stuff, I want to use this. The last thing that you can put in your press pack, the key documents, I think, is your interview questions. So if you're going to appear on a podcast or a webinar, then you can give the organizer some questions to ask you. This makes sure you don't get any curveballs. I remember once I wrote my social media book. It was the first one that I'd done, and I got some radio interviews. And on one of the interviews, I got asked about racism in football, and I hadn't come on to talk about that at all. I'd come on to talk about how to boost your personal brand with social media. And there I was live on air thinking, what are my thoughts on football racism? I know very little about football. It is, apart from there's 2 ends. And I just didn't know because I didn't have this sheet. So that's, going forward, I had a sheet so I could be asked questions I could anticipate. And you can also tailor the questions to suit the interviewer's audience, so you can make sure that they're going to get something good out of the session as well. The other thing you need to do, once the press pack is done, then you need to send it to people, okay? And you need to send it to 3 sorts of people. The first sort is influencers, people in your industry. They may want to share your blog posts or your tips. I'll turn that into blog posts. They may want to have you on their podcast, for example. So look for influencers where their audience matches with the demographic for your book. The next thing you need to do is to speak to journalists. My post-it notes have fallen off with my prompts. You need to speak to journalists, and the journalists will again help spread the message. So if you're writing a book about marine engineering, you find trade journals on marine engineering and say, would you like to feature these tips that I've put together, for example? So you find journalists that are talking about your niche and then say, would you like to cover this? And typically they'll say yes, because they've got this problem of constantly needing fresh content. And then finally, I'll get my note again. Finally, we've got your personal network, okay? A lot of people will have supported you as you write your book, either because they want to write one themselves and they want to see what it's like, or they're your professional friends and colleagues who want to see you succeed. Perhaps they've worked with you, they know that you're the real deal. They will then say, hey, my friend's written this book, please go and buy it because it's good for this reason or that reason. So your network can do a lot of promotion as well. And it helps save you going, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book, buy my book all the time, because that's not a good look, is it? Let's face it. Some people think that when you go to the publisher is responsible for selling the book, and it's not. If you look now, if you want to go with a traditional publisher, they will only take you on if you've got a solid, what's called an author platform. And that would be, a massive mailing list of 10, 20, 30,000 people. You'd have a huge, massively engaged social media following and so on. Because they know it's difficult to promote the book. The author still has to do the legwork. That's why when you see chat shows, there's always somebody going, oh, I believe you've got a new book out. Funnily enough, I have. And they start talking about it because the author has to do the hustling. It's not down to the publisher to sell the book. They can do some work, they can put out press releases and speak to the correct influencers and so on, but actually your personality, your passion and belief in your book and your willingness to share it is what's going to help promote it as well. So that's how to promote your book. Remember, create the pass pack with your author bio, the book synopsis, and also a sample chapter is pretty cool, thinking about it. It's a good thing to give away. And you also need to have those interview questions so you can make sure you're represented properly and you get questions that you're expecting. And then you give that to influencers, journalists, and people in your network. If you'd like to know more about how to write a book or how to promote it, then please do get in touch. You can find me at letstellyourstory.com. Thanks for watching. Bye.